welcome back to our anime show. I am a green queen.
And I am Binge Monster, live from my new apartment that I just moved to in the last week.
Let's
We'll we'll
go.
have to see what the sounds are like here in the background. Hopefully you don't pick up random, you know, I was gonna say ambulances, but that's so negative. Like car alarms in parks and all that jazz, people walking by. Because now I'm on the ground floor. I've always been on like the top floor. I've never lived in a ground floor apartment in my entire life. So now I feel like
Uh-huh.
I'm like ears to the ground and by extension microphone to the ground, and hopefully like that won't get in the way of recording. I haven't set up my phone
Yeah.
booth, which I typically use to do the recording either. I don't know where it's gonna go. Like it's been a little bit stressful, so I'm like live from our living room today and excited to talk about all the things that we're going to be talking about.
Yeah. Oh god, and it's so bare too. It's just a white background. I mean, not that I have anything fancy going on behind me, but I do feel for you, brother. But congrats on your move.
Oh,
Obviously, congrats on
thanks.
your move. I'm sure it's been a crazy weekend for you. Or
Well, I
week
drove
rather.
a 15-foot truck, box truck, with a trailer behind it, and my car was on the trailer. And I have like a Subaru Outback, so it's not a small car. It was a big trailer. Driving that, I can't say cross country, but I guess north from North Carolina to New York, and then
Mm.
getting off the Verrazano Bridge in New York and driving through Brooklyn was truly
Yeah.
horrible. I took over a whole intersection at one point through two light changing cycles, just completely took it over diagonally. So no cars could go in the intersection until I could get to my spot because no one would let me in. So I just had to like be aggressive.
Yeah.
It felt like I
Yeah.
was playing Grand Theft Auto. I was like, okay, no one's letting me in. I just gotta like take it over.
I
And
gotta go.
even then, some little guy tried to like get in my way. He's like, no, I'm going. I'm like, are you kidding me? Do you not see? I had no shame too. Like, I got so
Uh-huh.
frustrated, like I just had to do it.
Some little guy.
Someone in his little like 2005 Honda black Honda Civic like was just like, yeah, I'm gonna get in front of you, get in your way. I don't care that you've taken over this whole intersection and clearly like did it out of need. Everyone understood. It was kind of a New
Yeah.
York miracle. Like everyone, no one was really mad in the beginning. People honked, but then when they saw the situation, they were like, yeah, okay, like you need all the space to do your turn, and no one was letting you in, and no one was gonna let you in. Like somehow people just understood the assignment and let me go, except for this one little guy. And other than that, yeah, it was quite stressful. Happy to be here.
I can't stop laughing at one little guy.
He
But you know what?
was.
It's like I recently reread the thing of like, okay, well, at least in the States, right? West Coast people are, what is it? They're nice but not kind. But then like New
Mm,
York people are not nice but they're kind, or something like that, where
yes.
it's like we're not fake nice to you, but like,
No.
all right, bro, like it's tough out here, so like do what you gotta do.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel that way. I think people will help you with whatever you need, but as they do it, they make you feel like shit for for having to be the one to help you do it, which makes sense. You
Oh
know.
god. Well, we have truly so much to chat about. And thankfully we're not going to be talking about any bad people, but we will be talking about some things that people have said. Dun dun dun. We're going to touch on some comments regarding CGI in the anime space. We are going to talk about Crunchyroll and some things that they are implementing going forward. We're going to talk about Delicious in Dungeon. We kind of got like a mix. We have a fruits basket today, if
Oh,
you will.
okay.
A little bit of everything, you know?
Yeah, I do. I feel like this was kind of like a weird week, like right after talking about some pretty serious topics in our previous
Mm.
episodes. We were talking about like AI and anime and then piracy, and now we're talking about just like paradigm shifts in the anime industry. But there are quite a few of them, to your point, one of which was something that kind of really caught me off guard. Um, with regards to the Crunchyroll price changes. I mean,
Hmm.
it's only I guess for the tier that I have, it's only I think it's like a dollar. It's a dollar difference, but it kind of came out of nowhere. And you know how I found out about this? I found out about this through like Google Play Store sending me a notification that my subscription was about to increase on a certain date. I didn't see it in Crunchyroll. I didn't like read an article about this, and apparently this has been news since like May 1st of this year. Like I didn't see this anywhere. Did you see this anywhere?
You know what? What's so funny because we talked about this, not at the time that it was happening, but I feel like in internet spaces I heard about this,
Uh huh.
but I didn't know when it was going into effect. So in my mind, I was like, "Oh, they did it again."
Right. Okay.
But I guess not. Maybe this is the one time that so far that they're increasing their prices. I mean, like everybody's increasing their prices right now. It's so bad.
I know. I
Crunchyroll's
know.
almost on like the cheaper side of streaming platforms.
Which is crazy. I know Netflix is like historically been really frustrating. So, from what I've heard and what I've read, the mega fan tier is going to increase from 11 to 11.99, up from 9.99, and that's a $2 increase. I think I have the ultimate fan tier, which is only going up $1 from 14.99 to 15.99, but the
Mm.
base package is actually going to stay the same. What's interesting though that I was reading is the list of country names that are also getting price increases, which were Argentina, Colombia, France, and Portugal. And I didn't see a price increase for like Brazil or China or Korea or anywhere where I imagine there's really large populations of people. Um,
Yeah,
not that there are not large populations of people also in like Colombia, Argentina, Portugal, and France, but
watching
still,
anime.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Like I would have thought. I don't know.
Like you would have thought that where you could guess there's like a very large percentage of people, arguably some of their most like their most of their subscribers are, you would think that they would up those prices being like, "Oh, well then that will just be more people to pay more money."
Yeah, I mean, maybe it coincides with the availability of content in the language of those places as well. Like I know I've seen an
Oh,
increase in
yeah.
French subtitles. I know I've seen Portuguese, but again, like if they're increasing in Portugal and the language and the library of content available in the local language is important, like why not also Brazil? So I don't know. Maybe the article just didn't include Brazil. Maybe actually Brazil is getting a price increase, but I didn't see that. So I just thought that was interesting. Um,
I do think that's interesting.
they're justifying this increase by saying like, okay, in recent years we've expanded the catalog. There are 1,400 series and films there now, and we're now more than ever we're uh, adding more series that are simulcasting and airing at the same time in Japan. So apparently, I didn't know this until I actually read this morning. What that in the current season of anime that we're in spring 2024, there are 50 simulcast series currently airing, which is double what it was in previous seasons on average. So I thought that was interesting.
Oh, interesting. That's just on Crunchyroll, obviously.
Yes, this is just Crunchyroll.
Huh.
So
I'm
um,
certainly not watching the majority of them.
yeah,
So,
me neither. They
I'm
also
certainly
cited
not.
like a relationship with Sony Music Group, which makes sense, right? Like obviously with Sony acquiring Crunchyroll, like having the license to Sony content
Right.
makes sense. But they cite like Sony Music Group, um, like videos, like music videos, as a part of Crunchyroll. I'm guessing that those relate to like anime music videos, specifically from like the bands that do some of the music, maybe for openings and closings. I don't know. I haven't
Yeah,
seen
well
a
they made a big
section.
push for that. They made a big push for the music stuff.
Did they
Like
like? Do
as
you look at it? Do you watch it on
I
Crunchyroll?
don't look at it, but like when I went to the Crunchyroll industry panel at Anime NYC literally last when was that? Last November. At the panel, they definitely talked about the music a lot. They talked about the music and they talked about the games. And they talked
Interesting.
about other anime series and so forth, but like those were two big highlighted things at the industry panel, at least for me, unless they just caught my attention because I was like, Crunchyroll, like you don't need to do this, just get more anime and produce more shows, if you will. Like I was like, just do that. Like you don't have to do the game and the music thing, even though we played some of the games and we admittedly did enjoy it.
Yeah. I think they're trying to justify that. That's also something that they said, right? Like,
Yeah.
okay, now for like the higher tier packages, like there are games now, there's music. Apparently, I just look at this. I didn't even see this. That there are apparently like concerts that you can watch. Um,
Oh, I didn't know that.
yeah, I didn't know that. I hadn't even seen this, and it's hard to find. They don't make it easy to find on Crunchyroll. I had to go to like browse, and then at the very bottom, under the release calendar, I saw music videos and concerts as an option to like pick and find it. I'd never seen that before this.
Do you know what the differences are between the tiers? Like, I would imagine that the base tier, like what do they call it? Yeah, fan tier. I would imagine that like has commercials, right?
Yeah, I think so. I think that it's still like a commercial supported tier, and that's why it's cheaper. But I don't know the full difference between the Mega Ultimate Fan and the other one. I think that they relate to maybe like how many people can you can share it with. I'm not sure actually.
Oh,
Well, we should
interesting.
we I feel like we should probably know that, but I've just had it on that. I made the decision that it was necessary when I first signed up, so I hope that it is still absolutely necessary. But
Yeah.
I don't actually really know.
Well, and they started doing the profiles thing, which we talked about. Which like
Yes,
I suppose like quality of life, you could argue that if you have a higher tier, and maybe I don't even know if this is true. Maybe if you have a higher tier that gives you more profiles, and then quality of life, maybe then you don't run into like, oh, you were watching that series, but you're on episode 5 and I'm only episode 3, so now I have to go
yeah,
like maybe we could have that conversation, but I don't know how the profiles play into the tiers either. Like, is it to your point, like with Netflix, like when you pay more you get more profiles, whereas if you pay, like, I don't know,
that would make
but I
sense.
guess that could be another argument. Yeah.
That would make sense from Crunchyroll's perspective because
Oh
it's
yeah.
it's probably more expensive to support the Crunchyroll roll application where users can create unlimited number of profiles. Like it becomes expensive to like run that application and host that application. So from a technology and business perspective, that makes sense. But for me, I don't care. I don't care. I don't know. Like I wonder. I wonder if they're just if Sony is just going, hey, look at what Netflix has been able to get away with. Let's try to stay somewhat close to that. And even though we're an anime
Hmm.
only platform, let's test the waters. I really don't know.
Yeah.
We'll have to follow this.
Well, every time I log on to, your Crunchyroll, I see, your profile and somebody else, maybe your cousin or
Oh,
something,
it's
and
my
I'm like,
niece.
yeah, your
Yeah,
niece, right? Okay, I thought so. Like, there's another one, and I always am like, should I make one? And then I'm like, nah, and I go right to your profile, like, nah. uh,
sometimes it's really funny though because like you'll be watching something and like I kind of enjoy being able to also see what you're watching too. I'm like, oh, she
yeah,
watched
no, I
Naruto
do
recently.
too. What'd you say?
I said, oh, she watched Naruto somewhat recently. That
I
definitely wasn't
did.
me.
I did. Yeah, I started with like the I don't even know where they're from. They're not the wind. But anyway, yeah, I
Cloud,
picked up
I'm
Naruto
sure
again.
was the Cloud Village, right?
Oh, Cloud. Yes, it was the
Yeah,
Cloud Village. The Cloud Village is come to talk,
talk.
for lack of a better term. Sorry.
Speaking of
Sorry, sorry,
Naruto,
sorry.
though, right? There's this collab with Crocs that really has me bothered. Um, had you seen this yet before?
I did see a video, and I wish I could remember the creator's name because I think I sent it to you, and I don't know if I sent you pardon me. They made a video about these shoes,
Mm-hmm.
but I might have sent you their profile and said I want to have this person on the podcast, because they talk about all the collabs,
Uh huh.
all
Oh, you
of
did
them,
send me
all
the
of the
person who was um uh talking about all the anime related collabs recently, and I thought that was really
yes.
interesting. This one it
So
feels
I
like a crime. Spoiler alert, I hate it. But but apparently this is the second release of this collaboration. The first one being Kakashi and a Naruto themed croc, and
mhm.
now they've released one
Mhm.
for Orochimaru, or sorry, Naruto. Sorry, what am I saying here?
Your
Sasuke when
favorite.
he was like a subordinate
Oh.
of Orochimaru,
Mm-hmm.
Itachi, Jiraiya, and Minato. And I have thoughts and feelings, but just gonna I'm gonna let you go first.
Wow. Okay, well, I'm going to briefly describe them for our audio listeners, but a quick Google search and you'll be able to be totally locked in with us. So, if we're looking at the Sasuke ones, yeah, they're of the same style of when he was with Orochimaru, so they're like purple on the top, kind of that like bluish gray at the bottom. They have a big bright pink, not purple, but a bright pink rope that goes kind of like around like the tongue where the tongue would be on a shoe, and then they have like some gibbets of him, I suppose.
Yeah,
And I don't like this one only because the idea, I mean, and it's so stupid. I'm going to be very contradictory of shoes, but I don't like that this pink rope is on it cuz it's going to get absolutely disgusting.
it is.
I'm like, ew, I can't walk with these anywhere. And like, does the rope come out? Is the rope like a gibbets? Like, did you tie the rope? Can I take the rope out when I don't want the rope? But then if the rope's not there, the shoe does, it's a very basic shoe without the rope. So you need the rope, but the rope is going to get so dirty so fast because it's pink.
I didn't even know that the word for these little things are called gibbets. So I'm just trying to wrap my head around that. And the sad thing is that the croc aside, I like these little gibbets. Like one of them on the shoe is his Mangekyo Sharingan like eye pattern, and then they have like the Uchiha symbol on one of the gibbets too. And I actually like those little things. Like I would put those on a wall or on a backpack or something. But what? Is
Not
that
on the
crazy?
shoe? So bad. I'm literally wearing my Crocs. I'm clearly a fan of Crocs, and I have gibbets in every hole.
I did not know you were a fan of Crocs. This is news to me. You just whipped that croc out from directly under your desk. This was not planned.
It was on my foot. It was on my foot.
You didn't wear that knowing we were about to record this segment today. You just
Nope.
genuinely, in the wild, are a croc wearer. I have to
All
change
right,
your
well,
contact. I have to change your contact in my phone. Like
you
I have to.
cannot change my contact. You
I have
cannot
to.
change my contact. Don't you dare do that.
I need to
Don't
find a
you
croc
dare.
emoji and put it next
A
to your
croc
name.
wearer? Okay, elitist. Okay, go get your Sperry's. Go get your Sperry's and your canvas shoe. Okay, go get your cream canvas shoe. Wear it till it's broken and then come find me, Binge Monster, okay? Don't play with me. Don't come with a croc wearer. Yes, I am.
I had no
Yes, I
idea.
am.
I had no idea. Okay, like sell me on this. Maybe not these specific designs, but I'm not gonna roast you. I mean, I probably wouldn't wear them, but like you wear Crocs, so like, are they really that comfortable?
Okay, so firstly, no. I won't wear them if they're not in sports mode. It's too much work for my feet cramp.
What does that mean? What is sports mode? There are modes.
Oh, binge monster. Oh, wow. Okay, so when they're in sports mode, so look at Itachi's with me, right? So look at the Itachi one. And the Itachi one of this collaboration is actually very fire to me. It's very cool. It's got the oh my god, what is there? What the
Akatsuki.
Akatsuki, thank you. It's got the Akatsuki symbol all over the top. Like it's so cool. And then it's got his headband with the cross out right above like where the tongue is. And again, I'm like, does that come off or is that there all the time? But it's all like darker, so I like it better for a shoe. And then it's got the crow gibbet and I think his shining gun gibbet. So when they're in sports mode, do you see the like back at like strap, the back strap?
I do.
So the strap, you can fold it up to be like on the tongue, so it's more like a clog, like a slip-on,
Okay.
like a pure slip-on with no back. But when it's in sports mode, that means that the handle, that strap, is actually back behind your heel. So it's holding it on so that, if you need to run, you can run in them. They're
This
in
is
sports mode to
this
play
is a
sports.
overwhelming discovery. Um, I just yeah, interesting. Okay, so
I gotta say, don't knock it till you try it. You can't knock it till you try it because
but you
they
said
are
they're
they
not
are
comfortable.
no. You're misunderstanding me. You know I have old lady feet. So when they're not in sports mode, it's too much. I can't wear anything like that. Like if I have to keep something on my foot, like if it slide, I can't do that. So when it's in sports mode, it's very comfortable, right? Imagine the ventilation. The ventilation, Binge Monster, is phenomenal. Okay, the customization is phenomenal. I'm not a fan, so not all of these Crocs are, I would say, pretty standard Crocs. I think maybe the Jiraiya one is a little bit different as far as the bottom of it,
Uh
but
huh.
they're all like the very standard Croc. I like the like platform Croc. So my Croc has like a little bit of extra padding and a platform, and it's very cute.
Okay.
Also, mine's bright blue. But from the looks of these, they all look basic, except Jiraiya's does look like it is a little bit flatter at the bottom, a little bit more like a sandal, which I think is kind of fitting for him, even though he walks on like two planks of wood on each foot, which is
He does.
nothing. But his shoe, I actually think I one not only like the best, but I think it is a little bit different than the rest of them, which are way conventional.
I really struggle to like anything Akatsuki themed these days because it's usually, I mean, it's a pattern that is so recognizable, and so from that perspective I really like it. But I don't know, I don't want to say that it's an overdone pattern used by clearly not licensed manufacturers of like Naruto merchandise, but I also
Mm,
see just like a lot of really low quality ones. And I don't know,
yeah,
like it's like it's kind of ruined it for me on clothing. I
interesting.
also think it's really hard to find Itachi themed merchandise that does not also include anything Akatsuki related, and I feel like there's such an opportunity to create really subtle stuff. And Itachi is also my favorite character, so I'm obviously going to be overly critical about that. I don't. I think they've done Minato dirty here personally
Hmm.
with his design. I don't. I like the idea. The concept was cool with the like fourth Hokage themed, like his kind of like his cape with the flames at the bottom of the cape at the end of the shoe. Like you kind of see that. You see his special kunai that he throws. You see a gibbet of him himself. But I just don't
Hmm.
like the color scheme or the just how all of these colors kind of fit together. It makes it look like a child's toy more than a shoe.
I was just about to say that it does look more like a child's shoe. But in fact, I mean, I kind of feel like that one and the Akatsuki feel childish to
Yeah.
me.
And that's the problem that I have, right? Like I feel like because of that, it looks and also like so many people wear that Akatsuki outfit for like Halloween that it almost just looks like a costume piece than it really does like an everyday shoe that you can wear without somebody looking at it somewhat gimmickly. Gimmick
Yeah,
like. I don't know what I'm trying to say, but
I get what
the
you're trying to
um
say.
yeah, I also I guess I just don't like the shape of these. Like I feel like I just don't like the like dip. I don't know.
I
It's
gotta tell you, these, well, how do you feel about the Jiraiya one?
I quite frankly I also I don't know. I don't like I like it the most of the four, I guess,
Yeah,
because to your point, that like rope on the Sasuke one just looks like a cleaning rag waiting to be like taken off of the shoe,
it
because it just
does.
looks like it just looks like that's never gonna last.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then the other two look like they just look like toys to me. The dry one does too, but for some reason it looks like the one that is the most wearable for an adult in a public setting.
Yeah, I mean, and the thing is, like, I mean, I don't know. Like, I feel like these, for the most part, like me and Cheeks also owns a pair of Crocs,
Mm-hmm.
and like I wear these when I'm like running out to the store,
Sure.
like, or when we're like, you know, doing a quick something or around the house or something. Like, I'm not wearing these for fashion. So like, if I ever owned any of these, like, you would probably just wear it in the house,
See,
or like out to down the street or something.
but for so these cost $69.99. For
Yeah.
$69.99, if this was a kid wearing this to school, fine. Like if my kid
Yeah.
came up to me and wanted to buy these, I would 100% buy them for them. But it's also difficult because like I especially with Naruto, a lot of people want to do Naruto collaborations. We've talked about the Michael B. Jordan line that he did with Coach years ago, and quite
Mm-hmm.
frankly, I thought that was one of my absolute favorite ever collaborations because the designs were really subtle and they were so subtle that they could be worn in very casual or professional settings. Like you
Mm-hmm.
could truly wear it as a working professional and not, I don't know, feel like you're wearing a toy. I don't know if I'm,
Yeah,
making,
or feel like someone's gonna like be like, "What is that?" But
yeah,
not in a fun way, interesting way, but in like a condescending way.
exactly. Exactly. And not that I'm shy to wear anime related stuff out on the street. Like I do wear
Mm.
anime related merchandise, but I wouldn't wear these. And that's sad because I really love Naruto and I don't know.
I have to say too, do you remember what the Naruto and Kakashi ones looked like?
Yeah, I actually think that the Kakashi one looked okay. Uh
They were really cool.
the Naruto
They
one I
were
wasn't a fan
like,
of. But
I don't remember that. I would like to look it up if you don't mind. Wait.
yeah.
The Naruto one, was it? Oh, it was this one. Wait, these are cool. Oh, that maybe is a knockoff.
Yeah,
Uh,
probably a knockoff.
yeah, that was a knockoff one because that actually looked sick. Images. The Kakashi one. Oh, was the Naruto one just orange? Oh, it was like
Yeah.
orange with the big strap. Yeah,
Yeah.
but like these ones were very, the Kakashi one especially, actually very cool and very inventive with the backstrap
Yeah, I
cover.
like
That
that.
has to be a cover. Like, and then these look very like high quality, and then pardon me.
Bless you.
The Naruto and Kakashi ones look very high quality, and then the rest of these look like they were like, oh, we could just make money off these.
I mean, yeah, that's probably
Like they
exactly.
just threw it together. Like they don't look like they were handled with like any actual care. Like, to your point, yeah, this rope sucks. Not just because it'll get dirty, it actually isn't laid well at all. It looks bad.
Is there a price that they could list this for where you would actually buy it and wear it?
I would buy the dry ones for $40-50 max. I would buy the dry ones. None of the others though.
I would probably, as an entry to try a croc, because I've not tried one. Just can't. They just feel like potato sack tires on my feet. Like that's how I think about it in my head. So I've never actually tried one on, and so as a result, I can't actually say anything bad about them. Although I can express that they make me feel uncomfortable by looking at them. It's not fair to say that when I've not tried one, and if I had to, I would probably only get the Kakashi one. None of these four would I buy for anything less than $5. Oh, sorry, anything more than $5. Like if I saw this at Five Below, then yeah, maybe these would be my new slippers around the house. But that's it.
I don't know. The dry ones are pretty fire. I'm looking at them. The dry ones are pretty fire. But that's fair. If I mean, they're a really hard shoe to get behind in general. But like for some reason, I feel like nerdy people can get behind them more because it is kind of like a fu to society. It's like, you don't like this? Well, they're fucking comfortable, and I'm gonna wear them.
Mm.
You know,
And
and
it's anime
I think
related.
nerd culture, and it's anime related.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I see that. I see that.
So I'm gonna shift gears because we were talking about something, and I actually had to double check with you what this meant, right? So there was a was it an interview or it was just like this person said it
Actually, I I think it was in an interview. Yeah.
in an interview. Um, basically the C is it wow no I barely I know it but I don't know it. Someone from Orange Studio, the Orange Studio president, pardon me, had
Mm-hmm.
said that the audience toleration for anime has changed, whereas anime fans are accepting more and more CG, like CGI.
Mm-hmm. In the animes that they're
And
producing. Yep.
Orange has done Trigun Stampede and Beastars. So Trigun Stampede was the notable one that they were having in this conversation because I didn't watch Trigun Stampede.
Yep.
Did you?
Uh,
Did it have a lot of CGI in it?
it's 100% CGI. Like 100%, the whole series is CG. Yeah. So there's the
Ah,
yeah. So like if you remember when we were watching Attack on Titan, we could clearly see those like very specific moments, particularly with the Titans, where
yes.
CG was used, but then it went kind of back to its setting and blended it really well. And we had talked about this when we had initially watched Attack on Titan as like one of the first premier mainstream anime that has successfully blended CG um into its episodes, right? But Trigun
Mm-hmm.
Stampede is 100% CG the whole end to end, the whole way through, um, which
Mm-hmm.
is interesting and was one of the reasons why I think anime fans were really reluctant to give it a try, to embrace it, to support it. And I think when it first came out, I watched maybe an episode or two because I'd seen the original Trigun. I've seen the whole original Trigun. I believe that came out in the early 90s. I don't think it was the late
Oh
80s. I'm
yeah, a
pretty sure
while
that was like a
ago.
90s. So I was excited about it. I watched the first few episodes and like a few, uh, that a few other people that I know, I ended up dropping it, but not necessarily because I didn't enjoy it. But there were other things that I was watching, and I don't know, like it didn't feel like it had the same soul as the original Trigun. It felt like, oh, this is a new adaptation of this, and I supported it, and I don't think it was necessarily bad. It just wasn't what I was expecting it to be, and therefore it was like kind of dropped from my priority. And yeah, maybe I'll go back and give it a try. I don't think that it's not like I hated it or anything. I just didn't finish it. Um, but what I what I've learned from kind of reading this article that the Comic Book Review put out, where the president had spoken about the successes of Trigun, is that by the time it ended, people were generally okay with it. A lot of the early criticisms about the show weren't really about the quality of the show. It's not like people didn't like it. It was really just like getting over the CG in the show, and once that was kind of past their initial lens and they were able to really enjoy it, people seemed to actually really like it, from what I could tell.
Mm.
Um, but this is an interesting statement. I mean, there's an implication here that anime fans are just now okay with CG in general, uh, as
Mm.
a part of mainstream, and it really isn't that long ago where anime fans would revolt the second they saw a number of frames that was CG heavy, and immediately criticize the show and criticize the animation studios for doing that. But uh, maybe he's right. I mean, what do you think about this?
Well, I guess I have some questions that I'm hoping you can answer because I don't fully understand, right? So CG being computer generated.
Yeah,
So when you're using CG, like what does that exactly look like? That
Y-
means that it's not an artist frame by frame drawing. It's like,
yeah,
oh, we have the frame and we can kind of like move it around with technology into the
yeah.
next frame or what have you.
Exactly. So the frames that are created, instead of being developed by hand by an artist, a computer generated them. So uh, typically in traditional television and films, right? Like all of the like we see this often with backdrops in major scenes of films
Mhm.
and TVs where like a lot of the landscapes and so forth are completely computer generated. They
Right,
obviously
right.
did not film in those places. Um, but in the case of anime, I think there is a clear difference in the fluidity of movement that you see when it's not CG focused. Um,
Mhm.
it's often, I think, smoother. It's there are more details, and there's more specificity in individual movements, especially in fight scenes, that are like.
And you're
Mhm.
referring to when it's not CG.
That's correct. Yeah,
Yeah, okay.
yeah, and there are pluses to doing things in CG for the animation studio. There are certain things that can only be done when you use three-dimensional um, uh, caricatures or movements when you're trying to portray a scene, a character in a scene, or a particular moment in a fight that you can't really do in two-dimensional space or in drawing things
Mhm.
manually. Also, it's cheaper to use computer generated
Mm,
images than to hand
yeah.
draw things too. So it makes it easier for studios to pump out content and so forth. Um, but that aside, I think when it has historically been so distracting because in one scene we see these beautiful fluid movements, in another scene we see this three-dimensional block that just looks like a college or high school video editing project. It's
Yeah.
so jarring and it's so confusing and it looks so ugly, and the technology
Yeah.
just really wasn't there that people would look at that and revolt against it and go, I hate this, like this looks really bad.
Well, it's funny too. Like, I think there's something to be said about the advancement of technology because, like, well, I can't remember the worst anime we've ever watched that we did a whole episode about just to discuss why it was so bad.
Yes, but it
I don't
was
even.
it X Arm? Well, gosh, what was it
X
called?
Arm. It was X Arm. It was
Yeah.
X Arm. X Arm. I had CG, but
Hmm.
done so poorly before CG was good, and it had an awful script and awful character development,
Yeah.
and it made no fucking sense. But the animation was also so bad because CG was just not. It could. I mean, it was not there at all, or they just didn't have the money to fund into something good to make that happen. Um, but to your point, like when we saw it in Attack on Titan, it was actually kind of exciting because it did feel like you could tell you're like, oh, okay, like there was some budget that went into that to make
Hmm.
this moment look like this or whatever, but it did really work.
Hmm.
And I guess for folks that watched Trigun, it really worked after a while, right? After, like you said, after they got over that hump. But I bet that's because it's come around to the point where it is a little distracting, but it is probably like it's a little cool to see something in like 3D, where anime is very 2D, but it's also like it brings up the conversation to me of like, okay, well, are we like infringing on the integrity of this art form and the heart of anime itself when we bring in something like this? Because like I mean, what people can do with 2D animation is like it's phenomenal. I mean, the
Hmm.
shading, the this, that, we've seen tons of really great stuff. So I don't know, but that's like kind of like, if we're gonna get into that, is like, does it infringe on the artistic integrity of anime?
That's a
I
really
don't
good question.
know.
I think a lot of people would argue that it does.
Mm-hmm.
I think that a lot of people would also argue that it, disturbs the integrity of things that they enjoy, and it's so distracting when done poorly that it almost becomes an insult, right?
Yes.
I think important context here that we maybe didn't provide is that Orange as a studio is um, it predominantly, if not completely, uh, focused around CG. So I think most of the shows that they do are
Mm.
either 100% CG because that's what their animators specialize in. then if not 100%, then a large majority of it is. And so I think
Mhm.
their ability to be successful and to compete as a studio is also dependent on how anime viewers appreciate what they do. And make no mistake, and I have a long-standing joke about this, like Beastars was super successful and rose like really out of nowhere, and Trigun seemed to be successful as well. So I mean, I definitely see that when done well, particularly recently, um, that it has been well received and has been embraced and hasn't been super distracting.
Yeah.
But this is really new. I feel like this is of the last like year and a half or two where I've started to see different scenes that were clearly CG that did not distract me enough. It was obvious to your point that it was
Mhm.
CG, but it didn't take me out of it.
And you know what's interesting that I'm thinking of? I want to know if you've experienced this. Like, I'm honestly trying to think of CG that I've seen, and I'm like, oh, I feel like, I mean, I must be seeing it. Like, I'm sure Kaiju number 8 has had CG in it
I
thus
think
far,
so.
right? But like, I don't know, I can't recall it. So like, is that just I've gotten used to it, and so it's not distracting to me? I don't know,
Yeah, I think
but I
even
bet.
Mappa used it with Chainsaw Man too. I can't.
Oh yeah, Chainsaw Man totally had it. Oh, Chainsaw Man totally had it. But like, yeah, I don't know. It's not sticking with me because probably it wasn't as jarring to me as the first time I saw it in
Mm,
maybe Attack on Titan, which is really what I'm recalling. Like I remember those, those Titans were definitely CG, but
hmm
I couldn't really recall it until you said that. Actually, I can't think of a scene in Chainsaw Man.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean
Mappa definitely does it well.
they do, and they did. I think that they blended it really well. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I can't think of one. What was the other anime that you just mentioned? I don't know why it just escaped me. Besides, I mentioned
Uh,
Chainsaw Man. Oh, Kaiju number
Kaiju
8.
number 8.
I imagine. Well, let's see. Does Kaiju number 8 use CGI? Uh, yes, apparently. In the opening credits and throughout the episodes, there's some.
Oh, the opening credits for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that opening song of Kaiju number 8 is so good. Sidebar, so good. Oh, that's a good one. But it's like when I'm thinking of that question, like, do I agree with the Orange Studio president? Like, are fans accepting CG more now? I'm like, yeah,
I
I
think so
am.
too.
I certainly am.
Yeah, I do too. I do too. I feel like when we first started this podcast, I had a very different take on this because the technology wasn't there, which is crazy because that was probably what 2 years ago. Um,
Oh yeah.
uh, I was pretty frustrated with how people were doing it. Um, but I do see it changing. I do agree with the president. I think of Orange. I do think people are embracing it more, and I agree. I am too.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure something will come. I mean, I hope not, but I wonder if something will come down the line that will make me go, ah, yeah, you took it too far, and I don't like that anymore. I don't know. I
Yeah.
don't know. But speaking of, we've talked about a lot of animes that are using CG that are kind of upsetting at times, unsettling, if you will. But let's shift gears and let's talk about something that is so comforting, but maybe shouldn't be, but totally is. How are you liking Delicious in Dungeon?
I am late to the game. You started watching this before me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I only started watching this. I think I mentioned this maybe 2 podcast episodes ago, because I had a flight and Crunchyroll doesn't allow us to download anime. So I went on Netflix and decided to download the first like 4 or 5 episodes for my flight, um, and started watching it. And quite frankly, didn't really know what to expect. I I hadn't really read a synopsis of it. I just assumed it was about cooking in a dungeon, like cooking delicious food, but like never did I expect that what they were actually cooking were the monsters in the dungeon. So quick synopsis for our listeners here.
Mm,
Delicious in Dungeon. It's on Netflix. I think the whole first season is already out.
mm-hmm.
Um, about a adventurer party who, in episode one, lose an important member of their party to a boss battle that they fight. I'm trying to like not give spoilers here,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
the moment of the that I'm referring to ends where they believe that they can still go rescue this person, but they have to leave the dungeon and then re-enter in and go down and save them. And as they do, they're broke, they don't have food. And so as they go, they start to learn how to eat and cook the monsters in the dungeon and eat those out of pure necessity because they don't have the funds to bring food down from the real world. And they meet another character who's kind of like their chef. And that's kind of the high level synopsis of Delicious in Dungeon. So as they're going down level by level to try to go save their friend, they're eating along the way. And it's um it's a real conundrum for me because this is not a trope that is atypical in anime these days. There's a dungeon, you have adventurers, you have magicians, they're going down level by level, defeating monsters as they go with a goal in mind. Like that is a typical trope that you see in anime these days. But they're eating the monsters. And you would think given that it does nothing but make people uncomfortable, and somehow they found a way to take the, I don't know what's the word, it's not gory because it's definitely not gory, but they found a way to take the ick out of this so that you
Yeah.
don't feel sick to your stomach. In fact, you feel quite the opposite. You feel warm and like comforted. I, at least I do. Do you
Yes.
agree?
I really, really do. You know, it has honestly, the show has like a little bit of everything. Um, and it's so funny because I kind of have joked before. There's like clearly one character in it who's like continuously like not about eating the monsters. And I very quickly into it was like, okay, enough. Like shut up, we're doing this. And
Right.
I'm like, whoa, I condone eating monsters.
Right.
Like, but I do. I'm like, no, 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 I'm down.
Right.
And you know, the characters are like so diverse, so they all have their own little like personality, but it's like I think the act of every episode has a little bit of like, it's not like a tutorial because obviously they're not like, what are you gonna go find a monster and cook it? No,
Right.
obviously you're not, but like it almost has a little bit of like a tutorial, warm kind of like, ah, yes, and then I'm gonna souffle the spinal fluid of this monster and I'm gonna sprinkle it on here because that will do this and this. But it's like as they're talking about these things that should give you the ick, it's kind of sweet, and then they all sit around and eat it together and have their little fun conversations, and like it always has that moment.
There is one character who is holding down the logic. This should be wrong.
No,
I should
no.
not eat this. Why is everyone else okay about it? And then this character eats it and then she enjoys it. And
Oh yeah,
so
every single time.
yeah. And I don't I had to think about this the other day. Like at what episode, at what point do you, because all along, especially in the beginning, like it's only natural to have her perspective here. It's only natural to think the way she does and go like, oh, y'all are weird. Like yeah,
Yeah.
this is weird. Like you're eating monsters and like everyone's okay about it apparently for some reason. But at what point did you find yourself going, I can no longer resonate. I'm down. We're all in. I'm a part of the journey too. I can't.
I'm t-
Like, what? When did that happen?
I'm telling you, it was so quick. I mean, it was by episode 3.
Right?
Because the thing is, the chef character is everything.
Yeah.
He is so fucking uh
Good.
strange is not the word. Maybe, is it eclectic? Like, he's so
Mm.
quirky
Mm-hmm.
in such a delightful way.
Right. He knows who he is.
And he absolutely knows who he is, and he's not afraid, and he's not he's not bodacious, he's not boastful,
Yeah.
right? He's just like,
Humble.
listen, I'm that dude, and don't worry, it'll all be fine. I'm that dude.
He's kind of
I'm
like
that guy.
he's kind of like a farmer uncle,
Oh yeah.
you know, that
Oh yeah.
like I don't know. I was looking for a third, you know, like he's not like a father. He's more like a farmer uncle.
He's a mentor. He's like a
Yeah.
mentor, and like he's like he's not your old man, but he's like, oh, so your old man, but like, yeah, your uncle that, I don't know, takes you in after your parents pass, like, and then he just like, he's just a good fucking guy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
he's
see
that
that.
dude.
I see that. Who's like there to like teach you life lessons so subtly, and like you would eventually learn that like his whole intention all along with whatever he had you do for the week was designed to teach you a lesson, but he never told you that that's what it was. He's not like hitting the nail on the head. He's letting you discover it for yourself, and then you're like, wow, this
Yes.
person is really great, right?
Yes. He's everything. He's everything. But he is the sole reason I was like, I F with you. You're sick. You're awesome. And I trust you endlessly. And anyone who doesn't agree with my guy right now can kick rocks. Like, that was me for at least by episode 3. I was like, dude's not weird. I'm down. We're eating monsters.
It's also funny too because the way that they handle tension in this show is also, I think, pretty masterful. Because
Uh-huh.
there is tension in their fights. There, don't get me wrong. There's action. There's magic. They're adventurers, so they're slaying these monsters, and there's legitimate fear of death. But one thing that I think makes it a comfort anime as opposed to just one of those ones that forces you to keep your edge on your feet is like the stakes are so low, even though they're there. They do such a good way of
Yeah.
like tempering tension and stakes. Because like even when people die in this, I was gonna say tunnel, this uh labyrinth. What is it? What is it called? The dungeon. Sorry, in this
A
dungeon,
dungeon.
people can be brought back to
Yeah.
life, so it's not
Yeah.
like so scary. But then there's also the tension of eating the food, and like every
Mm-hmm.
time you're like they're eating that and are they going to get sick, like what, and then they end up being fine, and so like eventually it becomes quite comforting. I don't know,
Yeah.
but like when you hear this, oh, people kill monsters, they cook them and they eat them, they may live or die, they're fighting their way down a dungeon to go save their friend who was killed by not a demon, a big monster.
Yeah.
Like that doesn't exactly scream like I would like to eat a warm bowl of soup on the weekend on a rainy day and just sit and watch this.
Yeah.
But it does.
Yeah.
Is that?
And yet it's the perfect show for that.
Go watch Delicious in Bed.
It truly took me by surprise, cuz I thought it was going to be serious. And then I realized very quickly it was going to be funny.
Yes.
And then I realized very quickly that actually it is going to just kind of be comforting. A little light laugh, a little, oh, will they, won't they? But like, everything's going to be fine, to exactly your point.
And they also definitely capitalize on the idea that watching shows that are centered around cooking food just do something to humans. I don't know why, but there's a whole genre of television dedicated to cooking shows that supports this.
It's true.
And somehow I
Yeah.
feel the same watching this, even though I know I could never make a single recipe that they create because this is fantasy. But somehow I feel the same. Right? Like, am I crazy?
Oh no, you're not. No, you're not. It's like British Bake Off in a weird way. Like, the
Dungeon.
stakes are there, but they're, like, British Bake Off, like, it is that in a way. The stakes are there, but everyone's kind of supporting each other, so you don't ever feel like you're in danger or
Right.
someone's in danger.
Right.
It's like British Bake Off. It's like the Great British Bake Off.
I feel like this could be a strangely decent introduction to anime for like people who have partners who watch cooking shows that do not watch anime, who are interested in like tipping their toe into the anime world. And I can't believe I'm making the suggestion for this show. But maybe it could be. You never know. Like it's
I totally think you're right.
right?
I think you're right. Because they talk about how they're cooking it. It is pardon me,
No, it is.
informative
It
to some
is.
point, right? Even though it's made up.
Yes. It
Oh, I love it.
actually did
It's so
inspire me
good.
to cook something the other day. Obviously not what they made because it's not possible, but like it did reinvigorate my passion for cooking. I went into the kitchen and the evening I got back off my flight and I made something that was for sure more technical in terms of cooking than it was going to be. Whatever it was, I decided to like really invest time and make something good. So
Nice.
I haven't felt that way since Shokugeki no Soma, which is just
Mm.
my favorite cooking anime ever. But yeah, I think if you want to reinvigorate your passion for cooking too, this could also be maybe for you. And with that, I think we've talked about a lot of different things that have kind of been changing in the anime space, at least in the past week or so. And also a little bit about Delicious in Dungeon. Go check it out. I've been Binge Monster.
And I've been a green queen.